Not mine.
Okay, kia ora koutou, e hama, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Our guest, Vice Chancellor, and Professor Lindsay Carter. Today we have the opening of the J.E. Lindsay Carter Kinanthropometry Clinic and Archive. This works? Yes. So back in 2003, on the 18th of November, Lindsay was in Auckland to open our Kinanthropometry laboratory, which is based at Akaranga. So here you can see him cutting the ribbon and opening the door in the stadium facility that we have there. And as you know, that is now a laboratory in a different building that Elaine leads, which focuses on the metabolism research, and that's also called our J. Lindsay Carter Kinanthropometry Laboratory, whereas this is our clinic. And at that stage, I was directing that laboratory, and Peter Mallow, who has now gone to Perth, unfortunately, but Peter sends his regards. Lindsay has been a very good supporter of our laboratory and our programs, and with the various donations he has made over the years, we've been able to purchase equipment, so specialised equipment to be able to measure body composition. And the picture up here shows some of our more recent purchases with Kelly, showing how we can now measure foot height and navicular drop. So we're able to measure a variety of different body composition dimensions and lengths, etc. Now, Lindsay's donations have also funded student projects. We've had summer studentships, and this particular slide shows some of Dr. Simon Pearson's work with Emirates Team New Zealand sailors. He looked at anthropometry relationships to performance, and also one of Elaine's students, Jeff Juranovic, who also completed his doctorate at AUT, and his summer studentship looked at the effects of hydration and changes in body composition and performance, working with our SPRINS research associate, Dave Slyfield. Lindsay came back to see us in March 2006, and this is a photograph taken in our original laboratory, which has now been converted into PhD offices. And his donations have also allowed us to send Kelly and myself to Melbourne in 2006 to complete an additional certification in terms of a photoscopic somatotype course. We really focus on anthropometry education, and we run short courses here through AUT that allow us to certify level 1, 2 and 3 anthropometrists, and this is the highest density of certified anthropometrists in the world. I'm a level 4, Lindsay Carter is a level 4, which is not on the list here, but that's, what would you call us as level 4s? Criterion anthropometrists. We're supposed to be the gold standards. And then we've got level 3s, and we're fortunate to have Lisa and Simon, Kelly, Brian, who's at the Defence Force, Rob, Peter Mallow. Have I missed anyone, guys? No. So you can see we've got a large number of certified anthropometrists, and as I say, it's the highest number anywhere in the world. So here's some of the slides of where we've conducted anthropometry courses. I don't know how many we've actually educated now, but it's been endless numbers, and AUT has a very good reputation for running high quality education with this international certification program. Now, ISAC stands for the International Society for the Advancement of Kinanthropometry, and this is the international organisation. Lindsay was the president of this society many years back, and we are now the official archive for the International Society. The idea for an archive came in 2008, and again Lindsay's funds allowed me to go to San Diego to work with him to start the development of the archive in terms of having a historical record of important physical items as well as collection of data, and Lindsay is going to talk more specifically about the archive and what we have here and what the potential is for it. The archive includes books, and you'll see some of them displayed over here where there's only maybe 1 or 2 left in the world. Some of the original documentation in terms of body composition and in particular movement. So you'll see some fascinating photos, nude people throwing boulders and doing a high jump where you have to do a twist, all kinds of things. So we have a book collection, terms of our international collaboration, we have an electronic system. So it's called the Kinanthropometry Archive Project Database. It's a web-based system, and it has data as well as resources for education and teaching. And here, our hard workers, Kelly Sheeran, who's the Deputy Director of the clinic, Lisa, who's been collating interviews of many of the historical figures in kinanthropometry. She was funded for a summer studentship to help do this. And Joe, our hard-working Bath Exchange student, who's been scanning multiple pieces of paper and doing the electronic PDFs. They're now available internationally for when our colleagues require some of the articles. Now, the Kinanthropometry Archive project has grown really exponentially. These are the key members that signed up as the founding members. And so we have here Hans de Ridder, who is the president of ISAC, who is from South Africa. The deputy president, vice president, yes, Arthur Stewart, who is from Scotland. We have Jan Horns from Belgium, who's the official ISAC archivist, who sent all of his information through. Francis Holway, who is in Argentina, who worked with Boca Juniors, which is one of the most famous football clubs in the world, and now he's with River Plate. He's a nutritionist, so he's providing all the nutrition and soccer information. We've obviously got our own Rob Hogg and Will Hopkins, who's very important in terms of providing statistical analysis, trend analysis of the data, looking at the ways we can use it. Lisa, who I've talked about, Professor Elaine Rush, who's leading the laboratory, the metabolism area for us in nutrition. Deb Kerr from Australia, who's also a nutritionist at the highest level, working with the IOC and providing guidelines internationally. Peter Mallow, who is in Australia. Don Bailey, who is very famous in terms of the Saskatchewan growth studies and development and a whole lot of information about health. And Simon Pearson. Oh, Tim Ackland from Australia, and also Tim Olds, who has a database of over 80,000 athletes to be able to allow us to compare data. And Bill Ross, who is from Canada, who produces a lot of the anthropometry equipment that we have. So these are the initial founding members from, as you see, quite a broad range of countries, different languages, who are all now recruiting data and historical information for the archive. So it really is the international centre for kinanthropometry in the world, and it really does put AUT on the map. So we're very, very proud of that. There are various quotes, and I've printed them out along the lab there, that you can see why anthropometry is important in a wide variety of situations, not only from elite sport here that we focus on, but the growth and development in terms of ergonomics and design. And so, again, we're very proud to be the International Society's archive repository. Now, AUT is well known for its research, and again, with the clinic, we are continuing on with that research. With the extra service we're able to provide, it generates data where we're able to answer questions. So the one on your left, this is an example of the World Badminton Championships Anthropometry Project, where we're looking at relationships between size and shape and body dimensions and performance in badminton. One of the studies we conducted in the laboratory at Akaranga was all about the accuracy of skin fold assessment and whether you need to mark or not, because anthropometry technique is all about accuracy and being able to really look at changes. And this picture up here is to remind me that we've actually been invited as a team to present a workshop on kinanthropometry at the International Society of Biomechanics and Sport conference in Melbourne this year. And this is a huge honour because they could have chosen anyone in the world and they chose us. So again, SPRINS and AUT can be very proud of what we're doing. This is one of the first studies that we were involved in, excuse me, as a team, at the Olympic Games in Australia, where we looked at the relationship between the size and shape of rowers and kayakers and performance, and it's these type of data that are going into the archive. Again, a smaller study that Justin Keogh led, looking at powerlifting and how different characteristics of powerlifters can predict not only performance, but injury. And again, these type of data go into the archive. And it's not just about elite sport, it's all about health and development and growth, and Elaine and her team have a really important role in terms of leading and developing this area working with the likes of Deborah, for example, in terms of immunology, looking at risk factors for our youth. And in this particular case, this is a slide of ethnic differences in terms of Europeans and Asians and how you get a change in body fat percentage versus the BMI. It also shows she's working with children, which is a very hard group to work with, and also using other technologies like MRI scans and doubly labelled water. So again, we've got a wide range of technologies here in the clinic. Now, most importantly, with a clinic, it's all about public service. And we provide a lot of anthropometry services to elite sports, and this is just some of the logos to show some of the work we've been doing and continue to work, and that will develop more now because of where we're located. It's also to remind me that 2 new developments that you should know about are the bike mechanics clinic and the important relationship between your body size and shape and limb dimensions and how you set up a bicycle and how that can improve performance. And also the running mechanics clinic in terms of the areas that Kelly's doing and the international collaboration of our team with Oxford University, Ohio State University, University of Brazil, University of Calgary, to look at anthropometry characteristics, running mechanics, risk of injury and performance. So that's what our human movement team is working on. So again, a quote from Simon Pearson, just talking about the importance of anthropometry assessment for elite sport. The clinic is now directed by Kelly and myself with the advice of Lindsay, now that Peter Mello left in 2011. And this year we've got great delight in announcing that we've just appointed Stephen Hollings, who's at the back here, as our clinic manager. Now Stephen, many of you may not know, is an Olympian. He represented Britain in the steeplechase. He's been to every Olympics except for, what was it, 1992? Since that time, in terms of being an athlete, a coach, a manager, and so we're very pleased that he is part of our team. And 26 years ago, Stephen was the first person to teach me anthropometry. So that was for my masters, and Will Hopkins was my supervisor. So you can see it's quite a close-knit family. Hi Brenda, welcome. So the key members who are kind of here on a day-to-day basis, these are the key people that you would talk to if you have any questions, but obviously it's a wider family and group. And I also wanted to say we don't just focus on New Zealand, but we also focus on helping growth, development, sport performance internationally. And Henry's recently signed a letter of agreement with Lesotho in Southern Africa for Kelly to go there to be able to meet with the ministers, to be able to talk about the use of anthropometry in health and wellness as well as talent identification for sport. And so for that letter of agreement, we'll be providing them advice from afar, and Kelly will actually be visiting there for a week in May. So in summary, what are we about here? Research, education and service, linking it all together with the Springs facilities, the local community and the international community. So it is with great pleasure that I hand over to our Vice-Chancellor, Jared.
Thank you, Patria. Kia ora tātou. I think that was an excellent survey of the vast extent of work that is coming out of Springs and this clinic, this new clinic, and the School of Sport and Recreation and its associated activities. It's just fabulous as Vice-Chancellor to see the number of international linkages, the number of connections to sporting and other groups that are outside the world of academia, and the connections that we have with other universities and researchers. And so it's a great pleasure for me to welcome again to AUT Lindsay Carter, who brings his presence and experience from another academic arena that we've been associated with. And it's a real pleasure, a double pleasure to welcome him back on this occasion to open the new J.E. Lindsay Carter Anthropometry Clinic and Archive. Now, it says here in my notes, in case you're not quite sure exactly what cananthropometry is, well, I'm sure that everybody in the room is quite sure what cananthropometry is. And we have, you know, we have some black belts, fifth dan in that field in the room. So I'm not going to go into that. But Lindsay is Professor Emeritus at San Diego State University. And the first time I met Lindsay, he generously gave up a day to show me and another person from the university here at AUT around San Diego State and a little bit of San Diego as well. And it was a wonderful day that we spent together. I found out that Lindsay and I actually were at the same high school. Now, I'm not quite sure whether we overlapped there. We didn't actually meet one another, but we both went to a very prestigious school in New Zealand, King's High School in Dunedin. Usually in Auckland we just say King's. But it was great to learn that. And good things really do come out of Dunedin. Lindsay was a teacher and researcher in, of course, anatomy, biomechanics and cananthropometry at San Diego State from 1962 until he retired in 1993. Before he was at San Diego State, he received his PhD from the University of Iowa, which he attended as a Fulbright scholar, and then he took up appointment as a lecturer back at the University of Otago. Lindsay's written extensively in the areas of physique and performance, as we've heard, cananthropometry and exercise science. He's written 6 books, 18 book chapters, and more than 70 scholarly papers. His honours include being elected Fellow of the American Academy of Physical Education in 1982, and again, as we've heard, he served as President of the International Society for the Advancement of Cananthropometry. Lindsay has an international reputation as being the father of modern-day somatotyping, and he has co-authored with colleague Barbara Honeyman Heath, and published by Cambridge University Press, the definitive text on body type in relation to health and sporting ability. So it is indeed a real honour to have Lindsay's name associated with our clinic and archive here at AUT. Lindsay is a world leader in training and accreditation within the field of applied anatomy and cananthropometry. He's been involved in the initial steps to formulate an accreditation scheme, which we've heard about. He's a strong commitment to the education of students and colleagues throughout the world, and especially here in New Zealand, his home country. The first J.E. Lindsay Carter Cananthropometry Laboratory was opened at Akaranga campus. That's now PhD spaces, which indicates the development of our work, that we need space for PhD students in greater amount. And Lindsay has been providing academic and financial support to AUT since that time. So, as I said when I began, it's a pleasure to welcome Lindsay Carter back to AUT, this time to officially open the new J.E. Lindsay Carter Cananthropometry Clinic and Archive. And I now invite Lindsay to come forward and do the honours in that opening. Yes, that's right, that's right.
See if we can match that position up there, but in my younger days, I don't know. But you don't have permission to use them. Just kidding. Thank you very much, Vice Chancellor, and also to Dr. Henry Duncan at the back there. He's one of the leaders of this group here, so it's important to acknowledge him. And my thanks especially to Patria for inviting me back and to make sure that everything was okay. And I am so impressed with this facility. I mean, it is, I'm going to say it even if the president of the IOC didn't say it clearly, but this is the best in the world. You're not taking that seriously. No, it is. The president of the IOC was one of the 3 best, but I haven't seen the other 2, so this is the best. I'm just going to make a few remarks that Patria asked me to make about some of the historical things in the archive. and I did get some things out here in time for it and some equipment. And just a few comments without taking up a lot of time. This is the style of the original Sonata type camera. It's got a 3-position sliding back on it, so these kinds of photographs that you see over here were taken with this, and it's better than, you know, kind of standing up and shooting with a 35mm camera as we do now. But beautiful portrait camera. This was the same design that William Sheldon used in the 1940s and basically the early 1950s, and it was used to take the photographs in that book on the right. That's Sheldon's book called The Atlas of Man. So it's got quite a history. I bought it for a research project in 1964 and used it through till 1990, and then it just got too expensive to use the cut film, so I had to go back to a standard 35mm camera just for convenience. But beautiful camera and great big negatives, so you could make excellent black and white prints at that time. And it was attached to a flash unit and the usual lighting kinds of things. Another item I bought out this time is this Harpenden anthropometer, and this was designed for James Tanner and his classic study on child growth in the started in the 1940s, late 40s, early 50s, called the Harpenden Child Growth Study. And so many people around the world use that, or the Sieber-Hegner, one made in Switzerland, a different kind, but very useful one. But now we've gone to the Rosscraft equipment over here, which you have a plentiful supply of here. So people probably wouldn't even know how to hold that one to do it right, but this is much easier and much more modern. So that's on the physical side, and the books and things that Patria mentioned you're collecting, and the data collection for the site is just fantastic. And they've made great progress, and this morning we downloaded more of my stuff and scans of photographs. So I think that that's just going to make this institution here a much more attractive and higher level facility, and perhaps the best in the world, right? There we go. We've got the archive here. And archiving, I don't know much about, but I know how it can be done badly, because I've been involved in a couple of things in San Diego. And in an archive, you don't want to walk into a room and say, oh, well, here's Professor Mackenzie's archives, and it's a box, and you open it, there's no information. I mean, you got to dig through the box to find the things that you want. Good archivists catalog stuff. They have it in a way that you can go and look exactly at the thing you want out of those 100 items. And that's the way the archive is working here. And that's very important. So the data collections they'll be cataloged. You'll know if you want to look at basketball players, what's there. Whether you can get access to it or not will be something else, but the important thing is that an archive has to be well organized. And I'm so impressed with this one here. Saw the room that it's being kept in, and climate controlled, fantastic. Just what you need. So you can be really proud of that, and congratulations, Patria and your team, for getting it to that point. So still developing, still going on, I'll send more stuff. And the others, the people that you saw in the other photographs, we'll keep encouraging them to send their data in an organized form. We talked about that this morning. One of our colleagues is just kind of dumping it down here, so we're going to try and get him to do a bit more on that. So all of those things are just top level, I think, and you've got great leadership, great people around. We're in this room here, and I think that everything is going in the right direction, higher and better. Got some notes here. I want to thank you all very much for honoring me, and particularly the university and the vice president and Dr. Duncan and Patria particularly for helping organize this. And I certainly hope that it will go onward and upward. So without further ado, I believe I'm supposed to do two things here. Throw that away. I have a small donation here.
Thank you so much.
So I've got to have my Kiwi dollars do something, you know. As you can see, I'm dressed Kiwi casual, you know. I don't believe in bow ties and all that kind of stuff. So I hope this helps to keep it going.
Thank you so much. That's wonderful.
Thank you. And now I believe I'm supposed to open the lab by pulling up this fancy scarf. Not mine. So I now declare the clinic and laboratory and archive officially open.
Thank you.
One thing that the researchers might like to think about as anthropometry develops even further is a new name for the science. That's a lot easier to say. I have to practice a lot coming in the car over the bridge.
Thank you very much. Do we have some media here or not in terms of the measurements, Scott?
Sorry?
Do you have media here who want to now do the measurements of John or not?
We can just go ahead. John will
John?
just
Okay.
Yep.
So we have an elite athlete here. John, welcome. And so Kelly is just going to very quickly demonstrate some initial measurements on John with Lindsay standing by so that we get some photo opportunities just over here in the corner. And it's a time for you to be able to stand up and to mix and mingle, to have a look at the archive materials that are out here, and I'll also take some of you next door to see the office in terms of where it's located, and then we will be going upstairs for drinks and food. Any questions at this point? No? Okay, thank you. Right, John.